Okay, so in Chapter 3, Section 8, we are in the final section of Chapter 3. We get to talk about interest. There are two types of interest, simple and compound. Today we will talk about simple interest, and we'll talk about balance, actually, the balance in an account. And then tomorrow we'll talk about compound interest. So, the word interest is two ways that interest is used in the business world. One is, and many of you probably really love this, is you put money in a bank and you earn interest, right? So how is it that a bank can give you money just because you put money in it? Emily?
If you put your money in the bank and you allow people to take it out and use it for loans, and they pay back, and when the people
Very
take
good.
out loans, they have to pay extra for the loans.
That's right. They're paying
They get
interest,
part of it,
actually.
part of it.
Good. So interest is the amount earned for the use of money. So if enough people, like you guys, if every one of you here put $100 into the bank, that would be a lot more than just one of you putting in, right? So let's say there are 25 kids here and you each put 100 in, that's now $2,500. Another person might walk into the bank and say, I would like to borrow $2,500. So you've put the money in a savings account, and the bank has promised to give you a little bit back each quarter of the year. Just a little bit of interest. And so when they lend your money, this $2,500 to this person who needs it for a car, a house, or whatever, they'll charge that person interest for using that money, do you see? And they'll charge that person more than what they're paying you. And that's because the bank has to pay for its own building, its own electricity, its people, and all of that, right? There are a lot of bills running even a bank, okay? And plus they want to make money in the end. So there's two types of interest. Interest that you earn if you give money to banks, okay? And then there's interest that you pay if you borrow. And that you probably haven't done too much yet in your life, but maybe you're making some interest. The principal is the amount of money that you put in. So if you each put $100 in the bank, that is called the principal. That was your original money, right? If you go borrow, if that guy comes in to borrow money from the bank and he takes $2,500 out, that's the principal amount that he borrowed. Okay, it's just a chunk of money either put in or borrowed. There's a quick little formula for simple interest. And it is I equals PERT, P-R-T. Interest equals principal times the rate, which is a percent, times time. The longer you leave your money in the bank, the longer time it has to earn interest again and again and again, right? Time is an important factor. So interest equals principal times interest rate times time. And for simple interest, the time is in years. Each year you earn a certain amount. Okay, so here is an example. If you have invested a principal amount of $500 with an interest rate of 3.5%, and you leave that money invested for 2 years, what is your interest? How much interest do you make? Okay, so jot down those little details, and then we always start with the plan. The plan is our formula for interest. I equals PRT. We're trying to find I, the interest, so that remains a variable. And we just simply substitute the known values into this equation. So what is the principal? Ryan, what's the principal?
$500.
Okay, and the answer here will be in dollars, right? So I'm just going to take it down to the numbers. So we have 500 times. Now we need the interest rate. And that is, Audrey?
3.5%, but if you put it in a decimal.
Good, good.
It's 0.0
.035. So we make it a working decimal number. We don't use a number with a percent sign in our equation. We turn it into a decimal equivalent. And then finally, we're multiplying times time, which everyone can tell me the time is 2 years. So we just go multiply. This ends up being kind of an easy problem if you use the commutative property. What two numbers are so easy to multiply here? Alex. Well, but that's a .035. 500 times 2 is what?
1,000.
So we can commute that factor over here and say 500 times 2 is 1,000, and 1,000 times .035. When we multiply by a power of 10, this 1,000 tells us we should move this decimal how many places? That's right, 1, 2, 3 zeros, so 1, 2, 3 places to the right. Our number is getting larger by 3 places, 1, 2, 3, and so the answer is $35. Okay, don't you love multiplying by powers of 10? Makes numbers bigger by the same number of place values as you have zeros, right? Okay. Okay, so what if this same situation was presented, but now you had only 6 months? This will show up in your assignments. So let's try this and make sure it's clear in your notes. We will use the same 500, right? Here's our plan. I equals PRT. We have our same 500. We actually have the same rate, .035. But now the time. The time is not 2 years anymore. It's 6 months. So what number should we use for time? Well, 6 months is how much of a year? Half of a year. And so how could you write half here? I mean, you could write 1/2, or you could write 0.5, 0.5, right? That's how much of a year you have. You could write it, if you chose to write it as months, 6 months over 12 months in a year, right? Which 6 over 12 equals 1/2, right? Every year, okay? So we could call this 6 over 12. We could also call it 1 over 2 or 0.5, right? Ultimately, we simply need to multiply this all together. And if we decide to call it 1/2, like this, 1 over 2, I can commute that factor over here. These are multiplication here. And what is 500 times 1/2?
250.
Good job. You're just dividing 2 into the 500 and you get 250. And 250 times 0.035 will give you your interest. And what is it when you do that? Okay, so it is true, it's $8.75. Okay? So when you receive the time in months for our interest equation here, this time must be in years. So if they tell you that you have 9 months to save, then you would have to say 9 over 12. That 9 months is 9/12 of a year, because there are 12 months in a year. Okay, you've got to show it over the total 12 months in a year each time. Okay, the second topic is balance today. And your balance is your new amount after investing. Okay, so if we think about this last problem here, where a person saved $500 for 2 years, they earned $35, but that's not the only money in their account. They also have the money that they put in the account, which is how much here? 500. So the balance will be 500 plus the 35, right? 535, okay? So that's what this is saying. Balance is the amount you get when you add the principal plus the interest, PRT. All right, so here is a question asking you to find the balance, and it doesn't even use the word balance in the question. So please take it down. It says you have $1,200 in an account, paying 3% interest. How much do you have after 6 months? So, without saying it, they are asking for the balance. How much is the total amount in this account after 6 months? Okay, so we could write our plan. The total amount will be what I put in, that principal, plus it will be the interest, which is the PRT. This is simple interest. So to find the amount, what is the principal, Kate? Kate, what's the principal?
1,200.
Good job. 1,200. Plus, I'm going to put this interest in parentheses because we've got to multiply these three things together, right? So once again, we have the principal. Now we have to multiply that to the interest rate. And how will we write 3%? Olivia, Shane.
0.03.
Good. 0.03. There is 3% as a decimal number, right? And then we need the time. The time should be in years, and they've given us 6 months again. So how do we write that? We can write that as 6 over 12, or she says 1/2, which could be written as 0.5. Many ways to write that. But this is half a year, so that makes sense. Okay, so go ahead and multiply and find the interest so that we can add it to the 1,200. Okay, so we found an interest of $18, and when we add it to the amount that was put in, 1,200, we get $1,218. So there you go. Very good. And because of our short time here today, you'll have to do this at home. Okay?